Man, I'm ready to roll. We're going to call this show number 56A. This is Blue Monday. You remember the old Foreigner song? Blue Monday. Great song, and kind of more of an album track, actually. JC looked that one up, put that one on JC live from the pub on Thursday nights. Mad Max, you're welcome to play it too. Foreigner and Blue Monday. Luke Graham had a great song called Midnight Blue, right? Blue theme, orange and blue, the Gators win. Teal, the Jaguars win. Everything's a little more rosier or bluer or teal when the Jaguars and Gators win. Bulldogs won too. I'm proud of the Bulldogs. I picked them in the pool. They won in Texas. They got a good football team. Is Georgia heads and shoulders above everybody else in the SEC? I'm going to say maybe not. What's that old saying? Anything can happen on any given Sunday or any given Saturday or whatever day of the week the four-letter network wants you to play on prime time. But here we are. I was counting the football pool. I didn't do great, but I didn't do bad. I had a winning pool, 3-2 in the colleges against the spread. We're 8-5. We're absolutely 8-5 in the Sunday games. 2 games to go. I got the Ravens over the Bucks to cover the 3.5 points, and I got the LA Chargers covering the 2.5 points in Arizona against the Cardinals. So 2 games left in the NFL pool. So I still got a chance to win 1 or 2 of those. We're 8-5 in the NFL games, 3-2 in the colleges. I would have picked Florida too. If they'd have been in the pool, they were really in the pool. Florida won 48-20 over Kentucky. There were some good college football games. There were some blowout games. Indiana might be a top 5 team. They're not quite ranked top 5 yet. I think they still have Ohio State and Michigan both coming up on their schedule. So that could, but they control their own destiny. When you're 7-0, like Miami is too. Miami, Florida is 7-0. When you're 7-0 undefeated in a 12-team playoff, which is coming this year, or in January of 2025, I guess you'd say. When would the playoff game start? I'm assuming, well, I don't know. I'd have to take a look at the schedule, but the playoff games will be played, I'm assuming, in late December and early January in college football. NFL's got the Super Bowl way into early February, and that's been going on for a number of years now. We'll take a look at everything. It's Blue Monday. The Jaguars win. Maybe teal, bluish Monday, right? Blue Monday. Speaking of that, Foreigner, the group Foreigner, I really like Foreigner. Yeah, the album. Remember the album 4 when it came out with the number 4 on it? But man, they had great songs back in the day. Head Knocker, Blue Monday, Cold as Ice, Head Games. I think when Head Games came out, I first got into radio, terrestrial radio. And there were head games going on inside the building. And that's at any station I ever worked at, or any company for that matter. Great to have you tuned in. Foreigner show. Foreigner will be in the St. Augustine Amphitheater on Sunday, March 16th of 2025. Tickets are going really good for that show in St. Augustine. I mean, you go to the box office in St. Augustine, that's probably the best way to buy the tickets. But once they're gone, then you're stuck with the online people. Gosh, there's geek seats still around in some of those. I think I bought my Steely Dan tickets years ago from a guy who owned the seats year round. That was at the St. Augustine Amphitheater, and the guy sold me his tickets. They were great seats. They were like in section 1, maybe 20, 30 rows from the stage. I saw Donald Fagen when he walked out in his JoJo outfit he had a coat on. I think he had jeans on and a coat. He had that JoJo outfit on, JC. Donald Fagen. And Walter Becker was still alive then when I went to that show, and that's been a number of years ago. That's probably been almost a decade ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Things happen in life, tough things, good things. bad things, disappointing things, and exciting things. So, welcome to Blue Monday. The Jaguars win. Let's talk about the Jaguars first and foremost. The Jaguars did win in London. How they pulled it off is amazing. It looked like a Jekyll and Hyde show. The Jaguars looked bad early. You got a team that's not that good, matriculating the ball down the field, and I got what do they call it? Writer's block. I had to think about who the Jags were playing. Where they were playing New England. It wasn't the New England Patriots of old, but they come down the field like they were the New England Patriots of old with Drake May, the rookie quarterback. He seemed to like to go to the tight end and the running backs with the offense. Coach Mayo, man, by the time the second half rolled around, he had some looks on his face like he didn't want to even be there, getting beat by the Jags in London. What was the final score of that the Jaguars won? Jaguars won. How about it? Jaguars were trailing 10-0 in this game. They battled back 10-7. Went on to play really good football most of the game. Had a great second quarter. I think the Jags scored 22 points in the second quarter, I do believe, in that football game. Jaguars win it over New England. Jacksonville Jaguars 32, New England Patriots 16. So they basically doubled up the Patriots. There were a lot of other good NFL games. I'll tell you a team that's really, you got to keep an eye on right now, the old Washington Redskins. They're now known as is it the Washington football team or the Washington Commanders? That's right. They named it after my old high school Ed White. The Washington Commanders are getting on a little bit of a roll, but Carolina is the worst team in the NFL right now. They really are. Washington Commanders 40, Carolina Panthers 7. Washington was a 7.5 point favorite. And I called it. I said, they're going to cover that easy. By at least 10 points, I would think. But, man, it was 40-7. The Washington Commanders, 40 points. Carolina Panthers, 7. Washington's got a rookie quarterback, and they're playing pretty good football. And there you go. Jacksonville Jaguars win. We're going to go to – you want to go to the stats? Also, before we go to the Jaguars stats, some of the college football, Miami is still 7-0. Miami of Florida Hurricanes 52, Louisville 45. Alabama got beat by Tennessee, very close to the same score that Florida got beat by. Florida got beat by Tennessee in overtime by 6 points. Alabama got beat by Tennessee by 7 points, 24-17. Does that tell you anything? Well, I tell you, a lot of this, Josh Heupel's not a bad coach at Tennessee, but and he's got some good wide receivers. He got, by recruiting them, he got some guys through the portal too, some NIL guys. Tennessee got a little money up there. They're trying to win, and it's got to be considered a good season for Tennessee when you beat Bama and Florida in the same year, but you lose to Arkansas. Now, the Tennessee offense has been really anemic. They played these incredibly low-scoring games against Arkansas, Florida, and even Alabama. But give Tennessee credit. They had good second halves against Florida and Alabama. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. Tennessee will move into the top 10. I think we've got the AP top 20 or the AP top 10 we'll look at here in a few minutes. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. I called the Illinois game, too. Michigan was a 3-point favorite at Illinois. I said, no, Illinois is going to win this one. They won 21-7 over Michigan. I called LSU covering the 2.5 points against Arkansas. LSU may be getting better. Look out for them. Florida still got them, I believe, coming up on the schedule. Florida's got a tough schedule the rest of the way. They're getting ready to head into Murderer's Row. Florida's 4-3. I was hoping the goal for Billy Napier would be at least 5-2, but they're 4-3. They're 4-3. The end of the season, Florida State now appears to be a team not as good as Florida, honestly. You got Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas on the schedule. Texas may have showed a chink in their armor against Georgia, losing 30-15 in Texas. So the rest of the season will be interesting. We've seen interesting games. We've seen good games. I'm still not the biggest fan of the new era of college football, but we're covering it at Big J Report. And it's kind of interesting how all this is unfolding. Who will the 12 teams be? It's going to be more than conference champions. And I've never been a big fan of the runner ups making it to the playoffs or the tournament, if you will, but that's what's happening now. We're going to seed them 1, 2, 3, 4. Blue Monday. This is Blue Monday. Foreigner will be in St. Augustine Amphitheater, Sunday, March 16th to 2025. Show starts at 7:00 p.m. Get your tickets in St. Augustine over the box office, St. Augustine Amphitheater. I have no idea when the box office is open, but if they get sold out, and the tickets are moving pretty good for that Foreigner show, so if the tickets sell out, then you're going to be stuck with the Geek Seats and the Stub Hubs of the world and different ones like that, and ordering tickets online, which is going to cost a good bit more money because they got their little ceiling. They got their ceiling too. Here at the Till Shirt Report podcast on YouTube, we're still in the basement. We're not in Central Florida. We're in North Florida. That's a difference, Coach Billy Napier. I'll tell you, it is. I think the orange groves have been almost devastated in Central Florida. The citrus crops are going to be kind of bad, and may take a couple of years for that to rebound. Orange juice could be hard to find. I guess it'll come out of California. California, right? Let's hope some of the crops in Central Florida will survive and rebound quicker than a lot of the experts are thinking. College football: Georgia 30, Texas 15, LSU 34, Arkansas 10. Florida knocks off Kentucky, Florida 48, Kentucky 20. Notre Dame beat the Bumblebees. I was pulling for Georgia Tech too in this one, but Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech 13. That game was not in the pool, thank goodness. Notre Dame 6-1, Georgia Tech 5-3 on the season. So those are some of the college football games. There's a whole lot more games out there. Miami is 7-0. Indiana, man, they laid the wood to the team they were playing. My goodness. Let me pull up some scores. I usually go to my Twitter because we put a lot of scores on the Twitter account, or the X account, if you will. Scott Mullis at Big J Report Scott. Also, weather currently increasing, clouds today, clear in some spots, and 55 cool degrees here in Jacksonville, Florida at 5:10 a.m. in the morning. On Monday morning, Blue Monday, Monday morning, October the 21st of 2024, rain chance 20% now in North Florida. High around or near 77, the lows in the mid to upper 50s late tonight and in the morning. Feels good out there, man. Sunday night, I was walking around outside. A few clouds started moving in. We had a nice breeze, windy to breezy. It felt good outside. It was cool. Feels good. Got our weather information from Big J Report. The next Jaguars game, I saw some stuff Rick Ballou put on the X. I actually follow him. I don't follow everybody, but I follow Rick Ballou. Mike Bianchi, I follow him. Mike Bianchi follows us. And we appreciate that, Mike Bianchi. Let's see. Mike Bianchi's a writer and does a sports talk show in the Orlando area. Rick Blue has done talk radio a long time. I've known him since the Sporting News Radio days. When up in Western Georgia, we were one of the affiliates at times with Sporting News Radio. One-on-one sports is what they started out being called. So Rick Ballou did a tweet, or an X, or a post. Green Bay. Rick Ballou said Green Bay is a 4.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. The total is 48.5. I came back and wrote back to Brother Ballou. I wrote, Jags versus Green Bay is the true turning point of the season. A win could mean everything, and a loss could too. The line is probably right, is what I told Ballou. Green Bay right now is a better than average NFL team with a pretty good quarterback, and they got some playmakers around him, and their defense is pretty decent. So Green Bay right now is better than an average NFL team. Think about that. It's either getting a winning streak going or packing some bags early for the Jaguars, I think. We tweeted that out for Big J Report. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. to the podcast. I do want to pull up the stat sheet, or was I going to pull up some more college scores? Let's pull up some more college scores because Indiana wanted to talk about the Hoosiers, still undefeated. And we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about football. Some other NFL scores. Our executive producer, our executive producer, JC's Buffalo Bills beat the Titans. Man, anybody beats the Titans, I'm happy. Buffalo Bills 34, Tennessee Titans 10 of final. Miami Dolphins got beat by Indianapolis. What an anemic game. Anthony Richardson still wants to run the ball a good bit. His passing's not the best. At times, he looks phenomenal and great, and at times, he does not. But the Colts did eke out a victory. Miami is playing with backup quarterbacks. I think the second-string quarterback got hurt. The third-string quarterback came in. Tua is still not playing. Will he ever play again? Tua Tagovailoa. The Indianapolis Colts 16, the Miami Dolphins 10, the final. Buffalo Bills 34, Tennessee Titans 10, a final. The Detroit Lions. Detroit's got a good team. I thought Minnesota would win this one. I picked Minnesota playing at home, but Detroit has kind of proven that they got a good football team and a really good offense. Their quarterback coach is Mark Brunell. Keep an eye on Mark Brunell, who's the quarterback coach and his offensive coordinator. I think the offensive coordinator with Detroit, I think he'll get a head coaching job by next year, if not sooner, probably next year for the next season. Detroit Lions 31, Minnesota Vikings 29, the final. Seattle Seahawks, and I picked the Hawks. The Seattle Seahawks 34, the Atlanta Falcons 14, the final. Atlanta just cannot stand prosperity. They're a little bit like the Buccaneers, I think. Houston Texans and Green Bay, pretty good football game. Green Bay won it. Green Bay is a good team. Green Bay 24, Houston Texans 22. It's tough to beat Green Bay at Green Bay. I'm pretty sure the Jacksonville Green Bay game is at home here in Jacksonville. And I will actually check that. We'll even see what it is, because we had a line, and we're giving you the latest information on Blue Monday here. Blue Monday, October the 21st of 2024. Green Bay and Jacksonville. This would be October the 27th, right? My friends. And, Trevor Lawrence, if he gets on a roll like it looks like he's starting to, and he stays healthy, this will feature, what's the name of the quarterback for Green Bay? Jordan Love, right? Let's go to the line. Let's see if Rick Ballou was right. Now, sometimes people look at different lines than other people do. I'm going to my source, and I'm not even going to tell you who they are, but I'm going to tell you that I have a source, kind of like New York Joe has his sources. I think some of New York Joe's sources might be a good bit seedy. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's see. October 27th, Jags play at home. This is a home game. The next game is a home game in Jacksonville. Actually, a game at Jacksonville at Riverbank Stadium. The stadium will not be built this year or next year, but the year after that. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, Blue says 4.5 points, right? 4.5 points. I might be looking at the wrong thing. Bear with me a second. There's a lot of info out there. You have to watch it because sometimes a lot of the info is not correct or it's out of date. The Green Bay at Jacksonville game next week on October the 27th is going to be a home game here in Jacksonville. I think I found the latest line from my source. The Packers, keep in mind, the Green Bay Packers are 5-2. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 2-5. This game will be played on Sunday, October 27th at 1:00 p.m. here in Jacksonville at Everbank Stadium. Blue was right. Green Bay's a 4.5 point favorite. Let's take a look here. I'm not really seeing a pick here, but there's a lot of people that like Green Bay in this spot. One of the sources is saying the Jacksonville team may be a little sluggish coming back from 2 weeks in London. So I think the experts with Green Bay, even with a 4.5 point spread, I think the experts are liking Green Bay to win this game by a touchdown. Now, this is a big game for Jacksonville. They're going to get back home, get some home cooking, and hopefully they take this game very seriously. They play hard through the entire game. Earn your salaries. You guys make big money, man. Earn your salaries. These fans follow you. They live and die with the Jaguars. And Andre Cisco's a pretty good player. He came out, what was it, last week, and said he saw some quit out there amongst, I'm assuming, some of the players in the second half. He didn't really name any names. But Roy Robertson Harris, he got traded. He got traded pretty quick to Seattle. And then the Jags want to play their second-round pick. What's the kid's name? Mason Smith out of LSU, the defensive tackle, and he was inactive. He was hurt. But let's look at who the Jaguars are playing. They're playing the New England Patriots, and New England does not have much offense. And the Jaguars did beat them 32-16. Thank goodness the Jaguars did put together. They honestly, I'm looking at some highlights now. Jaguars win. That was the Parker Washington punt return. Man, it was like 94, 95. And then I saw it was 97. I think it's the longest punt return for a touchdown in Jaguars history. Somewhere between 94 and 97 yards. I think he got credited for 97 yards. Memorial for corrections officer that got killed a few days ago, trying to break up a domestic situation out at Love's convenience store out near the airport in Jacksonville. We keep our prayers for that family and ASO and everybody that knew that gentleman that passed away. Guy from North Carolina apparently shot him. But he didn't know a long story with that. But we are putting some stuff on Big J Report about that. After an argument, after about 1:20 a.m. on Saturday morning, back on October the 12th of 2024, intervening in a dispute at Love's gas station and convenience store near the Jacksonville airport, a correction officer was shot and killed. A nationwide manhunt ensued for the man who pulled the trigger and left the scene. Sadly, I did want to mention, I think this is the most important thing. Off-duty corrections officer Brad McNew has been identified as the officer shot and killed by the suspect, now on the run. Brad McNew is being saluted across Jacksonville and North Florida. Brad McNew was a corrections officer for 24 years. He was shot and killed by the assailant. So that's some of the biggest local news here in the month of October, I guess you'd say. So that's sad news. Keep the family and friends of the late Brad McNew in your thoughts and prayers. Jaguars are now 2-5 after the win over the Patriots. Jacksonville Jaguars 32, the New England Patriots 16. We got high school scores up on the website at bigjreport.com. I did promise to give you some more college football scores. Let's do that. We were talking about Indiana. The Indiana Hoosiers, an up-and-coming Big Ten football team on Saturday. What was Saturday? Saturday was October the 19th. Indiana beat Nebraska. What's the coach's name at Nebraska? Rule, who went to the NFL. Now he's back in the college ranks. Man, you get blown out by Indiana. Man, Indiana 56, Nebraska 7, the final. Some SEC games, Georgia 30, Texas 15. Alabama got beat by Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. The people in Alabama, I bet they didn't read the Sunday paper, did they? Like the old Democratic strategist used to say, James Carville. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. I mean, Tennessee's living right, man. They could have lost both of those games. They could have lost to Florida. They could have lost to Bama, but they won both of those. Both of those were home games in Knoxville. Keep an eye on Tennessee. Can they keep this going? Well, these two wins over Florida and Alabama back to back, even though they got upset like 3 weeks ago by Arkansas. Well, these two wins back to back for Tennessee give them hope, optimism, and maybe even more important, momentum. Tennessee's going to be in the top 10 now. We're going to take a look at the AP poll here in a little bit. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. Florida whipped Kentucky. About time. Florida had lost 2 or 3 straight games to Kentucky. Florida 48, Kentucky 20, a final. South Carolina 35, the Oklahoma Sooners 9. Welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma. Man, Oklahoma's offense is anemic. I don't think they have much of a quarterback or offense apparently at the moment. South Carolina 35, Oklahoma 9, the final. And, we gave you some other scores a little bit earlier. Some of the games that I had in the football pool, LSU won pretty concisely. LSU 34, Arkansas 10. You might remember about 3 weeks ago, Arkansas was upsetting Tennessee. Georgia wins. Georgia 30, Texas 15 in Texas. Illinois 21, Michigan 7 in a Big Ten game. Tennessee 24, Alabama 17. And the Miami of Florida Hurricanes are now 7-0. Miami of Florida 52, Louisville 45. That game was played up in the state of Kentucky in Louisville, Kentucky. That's kind of a look at college football. I do actually have the AP Top 25. Man, I got a nice letter from the hotel I stayed at in Boracay in the Philippines. Thank you so much, sir. Looking forward to welcoming you back here, Poe. Trying to remember what Poe means. That means I'll have to ask my wife. I did message with my wife, but I asked her what she's doing. She says she's cooking fish. Her fish is always outstanding. I'm going to tell you right now. They got a fish in the Philippines called milkfish. It's really, really good. I'll tell you that. So we continue on here. Oh yeah, I got an AP. We got an AP poll. Gosh, I just lost it. There it is. AP poll top 25. Now, John Bass in our Big J Report Facebook group posted this poll that came out, I guess, late Sunday, October the 20th of 2024, after the Saturday games were played. So I have to it's hard to look at this poll because it's got the logos, and the logos are a little bit strained to look at. They're a little blurry. Looks like Oregon's number 1, Georgia's number 2, Penn State 3, Ohio State 4, Texas falls to 5th after losing to Georgia, but Georgia's not number 1. The AP poll has Oregon number 1, Georgia 2, Penn State 3, Ohio State 4, Texas 5th. The Miami of Florida Hurricanes undefeated 7-0, now 6th in the nation. Got to give them their due. And when Florida played them early in the year, I guess it was the first game of the season, did anybody know that Miami would go on not only to beat Florida, but go 7-0? Does that make you think a little bit differently about the Florida program now? They lost to Texas A&M, they lost to Miami, and they lost to Tennessee in overtime. Florida is 4-3 and 2-2 in the SEC. Miami's ranked 6th. Tennessee is 7th. LSU Tigers, who just destroyed Arkansas Saturday, they're ranked 8th. It looks like the 9th ranked team. It looks like an orange paw. That must be Clemson, ranked 9th. Iowa State, keep an eye on them in the Big 12. The Big 12 is an interesting conference to follow. So when you take a look at the Big 12, I'm looking at the conferences. Miami's in the ACC, Tennessee at 7th in the SEC, LSU 8th in the SEC, Clemson 9th from the ACC. You got Iowa State. I think they're the highest ranked Big 12 team. Iowa State is 10th. Keep an eye on them. Brigham Young, BYU, I believe they're still undefeated, I believe. BYU is 11th. And BYU is now in the Big 12. Notre Dame's ranked 12th. They just beat Georgia Tech 31-13 on Saturday. Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech 13. Georgia Tech's having a decent year at 5-3. Notre Dame's ranked 12th. Indiana still undefeated, but not getting a lot of respect yet. Indiana's 7-0, coming off that embarrassing victory Well, it was embarrassing for Nebraska. They were on the wrong side of things. That was a destruction. That was amazing. Indiana just blew Nebraska off the field. They just kept scoring, and they just kept scoring more. Indiana undefeated 7-0, ranked 13th. Um, looks like is that Texas A&M ranked 14th? It looks like they are. I believe that's Texas A&M. It's 14th. Yes, that's Texas A&M's ranked 14th. So Florida has essentially lost. Texas A&M ranked 14th, Miami 6th, and Tennessee 7th. Those are the three losses for Florida to the 6th ranked, the 7th ranked, and 14th ranked team. Texas A&M's ranked 14th. Alabama with a couple of losses to Vandy and now to Tennessee. Alabama falls to 15th under first-year coach DeBoer, who's taken over for Nick Saban, who's retired. Alabama's 15th. Ole Miss is down to 18th, and I'm trying to make out some of the other logos. I think I don't want to guess at this point, but I do see Ole Miss is 18th. And why don't I just pull them up? Let's pull up the AP. It's hard to lose logos, but John did in our Big J Report Facebook group. So let me see if I can see them a little better, pull them up another way here. But I do appreciate John Bass doing that in our Facebook group. Oregon does move to number 1. Oregon moves to number 1 in the college football rankings for the first time since 2012. So you got Oregon number 1, Georgia 2, Penn State 3, Ohio State 4th, Texas 5th, Miami 6th, Tennessee 7th, LSU 8th, Clemson 9th, Iowa State from the Big 12 10th, BYU now from the Big 12 11th, Notre Dame 12th. I don't think Notre Dame's in any kind of conference, but they've had this agreement to play ACC team pairs. So, Notre Dame played Georgia Tech, and they have played Georgia Tech off and on over the years. Notre Dame 31, Georgia Tech 13. Notre Dame is ranked 12th. Now, that's interesting because that means they're kind of teetering on a playoff spot at 12th, or as the four-letter network would say, they're on the playoff bubble. Notre Dame wins the rest of their games, they're going to be in the playoff. Indiana's ranked 13th, but they're undefeated. Texas A&M 14th, Alabama 15th. This is the AP poll. This is absolutely AP poll. Tennessee State from the Big 12 10th, BYU 11th, Notre Dame 12th, Indiana 13th, Texas A&M 14th, Alabama. Whoa, Nelly. Alabama's fallen to 15th with losses to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Kansas State is 16th, Boise State 17th, Ole Miss and good old Lane Kiffin ranked 18th. Ole Miss, they've lost some games. They have. Pittsburgh, the Pitt Panthers are 19th. Illinois, with their victory over Michigan, is now 20th. Missouri from the SEC is 21st. SMU, keep an eye on them. The SMU Mustangs are 22. How about this? Army is ranked 23rd. Navy 24th. And Vanderbilt, who just beat Ball State 24-14. Vanderbilt is 25th. Michigan was 24th, but since they lost to Illinois, Michigan has dropped out of the poll. So that's kind of a look at the AP top 25 here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. High school football scores, you can find them at bigjreport.com. Scroll our homepage. Been a lot of games. There's been games that have been canceled, games postponed. There's been games in Florida that have been moved from Friday night to Monday night. So we've got as many scores up as we possibly can. We don't have them all up, but go to bigjreport.com, scroll our homepage, and you will find some high school football scores across North Florida, South Georgia, Western Georgia, and that small pocket in Southeast Alabama of some scores too. High school football scores, scroll the homepage at bigjreport.com. Now, I want to go to the stats. Jaguars versus the Patriots, right? Sunday, October the 20th was in Wembley Stadium. The week before, the Jaguars lost to the Bears at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's see if these are the stats. I need to pull up the stats of this particular game. We really do. Jaguars win 32-16. I'll take another sip of this coffee. Want to say hello to the executive producer, JC. Hope you're feeling better here on Blue Monday. Alex Nunnery, I've been messaging with Alex Nunnery. He's full of some good ideas. And John Gaylor, we appreciate all the messages over the weekend. John Gaylor, our contributor and correspondent to the Teal Shirt Report podcast and BigJReport.com. Let's go to the stats real quick. We're just kind of running out of time here on Blue Monday, but let's check some stats here. It's in the 6 o'clock hour, Monday morning, Blue Monday, October the 21st. Jaguars win 32-16. Big punt return by Parker, the backup wide receiver who's returning punts now, and he's returning them. That's right. Let's take a look at some stats. Give me a moment, and we will absolutely pull up the stats. We'll pull up the stats. Bear with me a moment. Okay. Jaguars, Patriots game stats. I'm kind of curious of Tank Bigsby and how many carries he got. Bigsby got, is this correct? He got 20-something carries. It looks like 26 carries. Is that right? 26 carries? Etienne did not play. Travis Etienne was inactive due to a hamstring injury. He also had, I believe, a hurt shoulder that he got in the game a couple of weeks ago. It looks like Tank Bigsby had 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Fantasy gold if you had Tank Bigsby. 2 touchdowns. It looks like 26 carries and about 118 yards. Wow. Brian Thomas Jr., 6 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Hunter Henry had 8 catches and 92 yards for them, for the Patriots. Drake May was their leading rusher. 3 carries, about 18 yards. Drake May was 26 of 37, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, but no interceptions. So I do know that Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell, who has returned to action now, played pretty well against the Patriots, and he almost intercepted a pass. Almost, like going fishing, but not quite catching that fish. Trevor Lawrence. Now, I think this is kind of the way the Jags have got to play these games now. Trevor Lawrence was 15 out of 20. It looks like 193 yards passing and 1 touchdown. Kind of pedestrian numbers, paltry numbers yardage-wise. But Tank Bigsby, he carried the mail. Looks like 26 carries for Tank, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, and those are some of the top stats. Brian Thomas Jr. caught a touchdown pass from quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Jags got 364 total yards. Patriots 295 total yards. There were absolutely, this kind of shocks me. You don't see this very often. You know how in the concession stand they're selling hot dogs, pizza, maybe even apple turnovers. There were absolutely no apple turnovers in this game in the concession stand. 0 for both teams. Wow. That's it. But I'm going to tell you, cornerback Tyson Campbell, who returned to action, almost had an apple turnover. He almost picked one off, but he did break up the play, but did not get the interception. First downs, Jaguars 23 first downs, 17 first downs for New England. So these are basically team stats. Let me see if I can find some defensives. Some of these stat areas, it's hard to read some of this. Now you can pull up another area and see it better. Trevor Lawrence, 15 out of 20, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and that's probably the big stat ever. No interceptions. Right quarterback rating of 121.5, QBR 95.0. He did outplay Drake May. Drake May didn't throw any interceptions and had 2 touchdowns. So interesting stats. Tank Bigsby, 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. On draft night, our executive producer said that general manager Trent Baalke hit a home run with the 3rd-round pick of Tank Bigsby. Tank did not have the best rookie year last year, but he's playing better this year. What a difference a year makes. Tank Bigsby, 26 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns, average 4.5 yards per carry. Even Dearness Johnson, the backup, 9 carries, 38 yards, a 4.2 yard per carry average. Brian Thomas Jr., who I'm going to tell you, the Tennessee Titans paid too much money, way too much money for Brother Ridley. C. Ridley, Calvin Ridley, they did. How much did he get? $50 million guaranteed? I'm going to tell you right now, Brian Thomas Jr. is every bit as good as Ridley and maybe even a little bit better already. And this guy's a rookie. Brian Thomas Jr., 5 catches, 89 yards, 17.8 yards per carry. 1 touchdown, his long one, 58 yards. And this is a telling stat right here because he catches the football. 5 targets, 5 receptions. Evan Ingram had 5 catches, 35 yards. His long one, 13 yards. And Dearness Johnson caught 3 for 32 out of the backfield. Christian Kirk, my goodness, on one of my fantasy football teams, 1 catch, 24 yards. Gabe Davis, 1 catch, 13 yards. There's absolutely no turnovers in this game. Jaguars defense. Devin Lloyd, 11 tackles, 5 solo tackles. Ventrell Miller, man, he's going to be a good pro. Where's number 51? Same number Dick Butkus wore, Kevin Hardy wore. Ventrell Miller, number 51 for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Now playing linebacker since Boyce Alakud sadly is hurt for the Jaguars. Ventrell Miller, 10 total tackles, 6 solo tackles. I like watching him play. Andre Cisco, 5 total tackles, 2 solo tackles. Devon Hamilton. But Devon Hamilton waking up and making some tackles. 5 tackles, 1 solo tackle. Yasir Abdullah back in the lineup. 3 total tackles, 3 solo tackles. Jamon Jones, number 22 for the Jaguars, the 3rd round pick in 2024 out of Florida State. 3 total tackles, 3 solo tackles. Trayvon Walker had 3 big tackles in the game, 2 solo tackles, and an almighty sack in the game. And that was his 1 tackle for loss. He had 3 total tackles, 2 solo tackles, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. Devin Lloyd had a sack. Number 33 for the Jaguars had a sack. Trayvon Walker had a sack. Was that it for sacks? 2 total sacks for your Jacksonville Jaguars. So we're still rolling on here. I got so many windows up on the laptop, and I hope it didn't affect the audio sound at all, but we're getting ready to wrap things up here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Foreigner will be in St. Augustine in March of 2025. The rest of the concerts can be found at bigjreport.com in the Neighbors 2 section. Want to thank our sponsors. By the way, the Foreigner show will be in St. Augustine at the St. Augustine Amphitheater Sunday, March 16th of 2025. 7:00 p.m. on March 16th of 2025 for the group Foreigner. They do great songs. Blue Monday, Head Knocker, Cold as Ice, Head Games. Those great songs from the Foreigner 4 album. Foreigner will be in St. Augustine March 16th of 2025 at the St. Augustine Amphitheater at 7:00 p.m. For the rest of the concerts, go to bigjreport.com and absolutely our Neighbors 2 section. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Want to thank our sponsors, Saucer Realty and Capital, for your real estate needs in North Florida. Also, JC, our executive producer, also does a show from the pub, live from the pub on Thursday nights at LakeUvalahits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. And I never miss Mad Max on Wednesday nights. Our Georgia Bulldog football insider, he's got to be excited because Georgia beat Texas 30-15. Florida Gators were victorious, Max. They beat Kentucky. Florida 48, Kentucky 20. And don't forget to tune into Mad Max's show, the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Mad Max's internet Wednesday night internet radio request show. Wednesday night, 6 till 8 o'clock in the evening, Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time, the madmaxmix.weebly.com. Special thanks to our producers. We're eloquently produced by our executive producer, JC. Hope you get to feeling better, JC. Also, Alex Nunnery. Alex and I have been chatting a good bit in the last day or two concerning even other sports like basketball. ABA basketball apparently hooking back up with another team in North Florida. Not the original ABA, but ABA is an interesting basketball concept, more minor league basketball, ABA. So, Alex, thank you so much for all you do. Want to thank our executive producer, JC, also Alex Nunnery, another producer, and our contributor correspondent, Mr. John Gaylor. Thank you for the messaging and chatting over the weekend, John. Thank you for the friendship, and we appreciate you being a contributor and correspondent with BigJReport.com and our Teal Shirt Report podcast, and on our Big J Report Facebook group as well. Low temperature in Jacksonville this morning, 55 degrees. Let's see. I'm looking at, it's still 55 degrees at 6:19 in the morning on Blue Monday, on Monday morning, October the 21st of 2024. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast on this Monday. Did we check the NFL scores? We checked most of them, didn't we? Didn't we check most of the National Football League scores? We'll check some more scores. I think we hit most of the NFL scores. Buffalo won. They blew out Tennessee. Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jaguars, man. He's going to be a good player. Jacksonville Jaguars 32, New England Patriots 16, the Seattle Seahawks 34, Atlanta Falcons 14 in Atlanta. Buffalo blew out Tennessee 34-10. The Bengals, I don't know what happened to Cleveland, man. They've fallen apart. Cincinnati Bengals 21, Cleveland Browns 14. Green Bay Packers 24, Houston Texans 22. The Thursday night game last Thursday was Denver 33, New Orleans 10. And again, Green Bay 24, Houston 22. That's the next opponent for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Indianapolis Colts 16, the Miami Dolphins 10. And, I picked the Steelers. The Steelers did beat the Jets. Detroit 31, Minnesota 29. Philadelphia Eagles 28, New York Giants 3. The Giants are kind of dismal. They played a couple of good games, but other than that, they've been pretty bad. Los Angeles Rams 20, Las Vegas Raiders 15. There's a couple of Monday night games. Washington Commanders 40, the Carolina Panthers 7. Kansas City Chiefs stay undefeated at 6-0 with looks like a 28-18 win over the San Francisco 49ers. And Pittsburgh, Sunday night game, I believe it was. Pittsburgh, was that the Sunday night game? Pittsburgh 37, the Pittsburgh Steelers 37, New York Jets 15. That was the Sunday night game. The Monday night games, and I'm picking the Ravens and the Chargers on Monday night. That's going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. You guys have a great day. I'm your host for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. My name is Scott. And I need to shave. And I'm out. You guys have a great day, okay? Thank you for watching and listening.